As a working mother and wanting to still have a purpose-driven life along with taking care of the child, I often get told that I have to step back to take care of the child for some period at least. While doing both is tiring, not doing anything outside of childcare also feels more depressing. How should a mother navigate through this?
Being prepared is better than not being prepared. The outcome of what will happen after you give the baby's birth is not in our hands. So you got to have this conversation with your partner way early. That do simple things. I might want to step out for a half an hour walk every day. At that point of time, I want you to show up for the baby. Or if your house help or somebody comes around to support you, provide them with the support to take care of the baby and take that 1 hour long shower where you just go sit on the commode and you're like, I do not want to function for 20 minutes. Please don't. No mother should hear that. Absolutely not.
Move on to the Q&A. I'd like to first unmute Mr. Shmuel.
Yeah, okay. I want to ask what, according to your opinion, need to be a role of government and authorities in effective treatment in postpartum depression?
The responsibility of the government or the authorities to treat postpartum.
Right. I think I got some idea about what sir has been asking. Thank you so much for the question, which I think is very, very crucial because there is a lot of things that a lot of us don't know, which I didn't know until I went to the ground. A lot of ASHA workers do this a lot actually. People, they end up putting all these young mothers in one room and they teach them about how to take care of themselves postpartum. They also work through the idea of spreading awareness on taking help from the government hospitals when they are going through certain symptoms. But do they have the right language? Maybe not. And what I've also come around to believe, like what folks here are doing, is we got to also play our part in everyday aspect of it. Like while the government is doing, there's polio. During polio as well, they're having people speaking to women and younger kids about, how to take care of themselves. There are a lot of nutrition related programs that happen, with respect to care. So the government is doing its best, but I don't really think that it's completely on the government, right? And why am I saying this? Because we have a very huge center that's come up in Hyderabad currently. That's the mental health center that's come up. So the point is, instead of talking on what can we do, I'm asking about what more can we do in a way that works. I'm not telling the government is not showing up. It's showing up. But then we got to mobilize it at the individual level because awareness is less. That is the key point. I hope I answered your question, sir. If not, please feel free to ask.
Yeah, yes. Thank you very much. This answered my question. And I want to ask another question. I want to ask you what impacts of poverty and social problems on development postpartum depression.
How problems of poverty can better deal with.
Yeah, this is unfortunately a systemic problem, sir. But I'd like to say you one thing. When we strengthen the cultural systems that are present, I'm not trying to be condescending, but I'm trying to give you a context. There's this thing that is called as the sling. I don't know how many of you know that. There's a big brand that came up that is making slings on how to tie babies instead of getting, usually carrying them in the baby carriers or the mother's hands and, all this hurting, right? If you don't know, women in the villages actually carry their babies on their back and take them to their working fields when they start working, and they would do it just with their saris. So work towards understanding what are the locally available practices that have been working over the generation. I'll give you another example of how we tackled this at a local community in Bangalore when we were doing a public health work. Instead of telling people, so we started diagnosing people with having anemia. Okay. Now we gave them, I'm sure many of you are aware that the Orofer or the anemia tablets look red in color. And also the eye pill looks red in color, or the morning after pill also looks red in color. So a lot of these young girls who were having anemia were forbidden by the community to take these medicine because they thought we are trying to make them infertile. And that is when it struck us that it was our mistake that we assumed that this would work. And that's when we went back to understanding what are the locally available leafy vegetables that work. You can ask them to take raisins, that is going to grow their anemia, but is it really going to work? No. Instead, we said them, do you find drumstick leaves in and around your surroundings? They're like, yeah, drumstick leaves are available everywhere. We make dal with it. And that's when we taught them how to make drumstick leaf powder so that that could increase their anemia. That could increase their hemoglobin production. Local, culturally available kitchen things are very good enough, irrespective of poverty, to address it. So making a technique that has to be individualized for the population is important. Poverty has been there, so it's going to be there until, because it's a systemic problem we are trying to solve. But the solutions you provide should not be a one-time solution. And that is why look for locally available. We ask them to literally have spinach and drumstick leaves for their everyday anemia levels to grow. Literally just that. And all these women did it more so. They came up with drumstick leaves bhajis. They added it to curries. They added it for children. They added it for lactating mothers, for pregnant mothers. They took the one simple solution that we gave and used it across every possible scenario that they could have used it. Customizing the solution according to the problem is a key aspect of public health.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I'm going to unmute Ms. Beena next.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Yes.
I'm a lactation consultant and I keep meeting all these mothers very often. And I have found that postpartum depression is so very common in these mothers. What I have started, I just want to share my experience. What I have started is I have started taking antenatal breastfeeding classes where I do give awareness to the people about this mood changes which are going to happen, and I do that involving their family and their husbands, so they can, and I do tell the husband to listen and validate her feelings. And when they come back to me, I also do the same thing, and just listening and validating their feeling and appreciating whatever they have done for their baby, even if it is a small, I did this, just a little bit of appreciation makes them feel so good. I also insist the family members not to force the traditional foods if she doesn't like it. And I also tell the mother that these are the foods which have been given traditionally, so maybe they have some importance. So if it is okay for you, you take it, but don't take it in such a way that hurts your brain and mind. Okay, I also want to ask you whether psychiatric nutrition, like supplements which are nutrition which is required very high, like especially protein, calcium, and protein is involved in many of the enzyme functions, so increase in protein intake do help them make feel better, especially zinc, copper, iron, protein, and omega-3 fatty acids, manganese, B12, all this work very well. I just wanted to share this with you, and I'm great learning from you. That's all.
Thank you so much for everything that you do. I think it's very, very important. And something that I would like all of us to do is, when you have somebody around you who's going through this, I would say start the psychoeducation way before and not just after, because when it is after, there is a tiny thing that is moving around, right? So there's a lot of attention split that happens, which has to be expected. So when you start preparing people a little before, and I love how there are these preparing the mother journals that have come for all the 9 months, where it's teaching the mother what can be some of the possible things that are coming up. And, I would say psychoeducation or giving context always works before rather than in the situation, because there are too many emotions floating around.
Hello, ma'am. I prompted you to unmute. Kindly unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good afternoon to all of you. It was a fabulous talk by ma'am. Actually, I am a marriage counselor, and most of the problems I am getting through some psychological and psycho-legal assistance rather. So in that area, this postpartum depression is a very big issue nowadays. Particularly, people are living in neo-structural family, as you said, and not even in cities like Bangalore, Delhi, even in big cities also. There is a very big issue nowadays, and it's a very pressure area. So many so-called extramarital and so many deviations are also there. And most of the time, husband think that she is doing it, pretending all this, what is happening to her, like we see in this menopausal area. It is again a very big challenge. So I was just thinking about as we are doing antenatal clinics for pregnant ladies, why don't we go for if they come for vaccination and other follow-up of the baby? In that time, this mental well-being program could be designed because I am affiliated to
Absolutely.
NIMHANS. NIMHANS also, I am a de-addiction counselor also certified through NIMHANS. So many problems. Even addiction has been triggered in cases where lady is going through PPD.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I totally agree with all the outcomes that you're mentioning, ma'am. So, and this is exactly why, as people who are providing mental support, it's very important to ask yourself, can I go beyond what I'm doing? For as a, volunteer your time, basically. The government is not going to come look for us. I think it's important that we go look for where these programs are happening and sit down and see if we, and you'll be actually surprised a lot of times the ASHA workers and the individuals who are supporting for the polio, they're all the more happy if somebody comes and sits and talks to these mothers. So now the idea is look around you for organizations who are trying to solve this problem at a grassroots level. Start associating with them and start providing your time, because that I think is very, very important, because we are all still a little bit on the monetary driven aspect of it. When we go a little beyond that and start showing up, I think that makes a huge difference. And that I've seen is something I started talking to a lot of my people in the building, like the workforce and the sanitation workers around. I said, and that itself made a lot of difference.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
second thing
not
is,
about what they can do, it's about what we can do. Because even one person supporting one person still goes a long way.
actually, secondly, I wanted to say as about ASHA workers, they are already overworked. And as
I
for
don't deny.
and their training is not that much equipped to deal with the PPD actually itself.
Definitely. The
And
idea
there
is
is a,
not about equipping them to deal with the PPD. It's about building the language into the system that if
yeah,
you are
yeah.
going through this, because you'll be surprised. I say this to a lot of the nurses I work with as well. You're already asking about the sleep. You're already asking about the pain. You're already asking about bowel movements. You're already asking about 8 questions that we ask in psychology as well. I'm not asking you to overwork. I'm asking you to observe. And my nurses are the smartest. They will see the eyes and they'll be like, ma'am, that person is crying, you need to talk.
With the
In
help of
cases of,
departments,
I'm not,
with,
but
yeah, with the
leveraging
help
and
of
piggybacking is very important.
actually some social workers, psychiatric social workers, psychiatric nurses, and all these people, they are a very good resource actually. Like
Agreed, agreed.
Anganwadis, and they are having, in general, they get through the such cases.
Absolutely.
They can have the timely help to these ladies because after the birth of child, if he is son, nobody is looking after for mother.
Agreed, agreed, totally agreed. And when
So
we went into rural Madhya Pradesh and we were doing a project on understanding how do we support people who are going through this, and especially mothers, I loved what one of the ladies said there. She's like, I'm going to do what works for me. I'm actually happy to do these mistakes. And then the Anganwadi worker said, she's my friend. I'm an Anganwadi worker, but that lady is my friend because I will show up for her. And she was like, I snuck out 2 packets of sattu, one for her daughter and one for her as well, so that they don't have to share.
that's why, because they are having
And
the
compassion
outreach.
is there in the system,
They are involved in
but
the locality, so they are more reliable to get
agreed,
such cases at
agreed,
earliest.
totally agreed. But again, we are
Thank
running
you.
against a system where there are millions of babies that are born and there are millions of women who
Yeah,
are
yeah,
giving birth. So we are
particularly.
trying our
Thank
level
you.
best, and that's that, because I think medical workers burnout is very, very real too. So it's a
Everything
gamble.
lies with the medical worker, ASHA worker. So
Absolutely.
we can have a chain of affiliation with each other that will be more feasible rather.
Yeah, yeah. Why
Thank
not? Why not? I think that's the right way to go. And that's why I'm saying look locally where you can support.
you.
Because the global solutions will work. But show up at your local places. So there is a slum near my house where they are slightly under-resourced. When we went and spoke to them about menstrual cups, those women lashed out at me. They asked me one question. They're like, we don't have water to drink, and you're asking me to spend 1 liter of water on washing a menstrual cup. I said, I'm sorry. I apologize. Instead, when we brought them period panties, they were happy to do that. So, before we come up with generalized solutions, it's important to understand where the problem is actually originating from, because blanket statement, blanket solutions don't work.
Definitely, definitely. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you.
There's a question from Ms. Radhika Gopales. Ma'am, I would like to know, as a professional, what strategies can be adopted to identify and support mothers facing baby blues in a rural setting?
Right. I think what the setting does play a crucial role, but it might not be a major detector in how do you figure this out. Because again, a lot of the traditional aspects of you tie your belly and you go back to work. Let's say you are somebody who works in the fields. You're somebody who does crop rotation. You're somebody who is going for vegetable harvesting. You are going to have to show up, right? So instead of trying to support just the mother, I would say a lot of psychoeducation for the family is required, where you start working with the mother-in-laws and with the extended families. Like one of our speaker also spoke about how it's important to involve the family. How do you spot it? Basic for anybody. This is a blanket statement that I'm making, quite aware of that, but might help. Appetite, sleep, behaviorally, how they're looking on the external with their dressing, their mood, and pain levels. These 4 questions, when you ask, it will really, really help. And I'm imploring all of you and requesting all of you, work on your language. Work on the kind of questions you are asking, how you are asking, what is your intentionality behind asking. Because a lot of times when we are asking the question, we are very insensitive. And when you, sometimes I've asked just one question, and the person's ended up telling the entire life history and they've cried. So it's not about the quantity of questions you ask, it's about the quality of how you are asking, and using colloquial languages is a good way to bridge the gap. And another very interesting way that I have found to talk to people is choose movie examples, because a lot of them now have access to internet. You can always show a lot of videos and tell them, do you feel like this? Is this something that you've gone through? Would you be able to relate to something that you're seeing? Now, to everybody who's working in mental health, who's going through this, who are teachers in all your professions, learn the language that works, because that is the bridge that allows you to understand people's mental health effectively. Now, apart from therapy, what at a personal level can we do to recover from PPD? I will be very, very blatant about this. Your body and mind are not equipped, at least for the 3 months, to allow you to do this on your own. So before your last trimester hits, build a support system. Build a support system of even your house helps to people, whoever comes, build a support system so that you know whom to rely on. Now, on your own, what you can do, some of you have suggested some of the fabulous things on aspects of what do you say, writing, journaling, and listening to music, using aromatherapy. I don't know if many of you know this. When you are also feeling very low, instead of fancy candles and instead of all of that works. All of that works. Ever tried putting sambrani? Just putting sambrani in your entire house itself is a mood elevator. So small doable techniques that have always worked for you. Drawing, coloring, painting, taking a stroll, listening to metal songs and dancing for some time in the bathroom absolutely works. So do not abandon things that have worked for you before because you're a new mother. They will still work for you because you're still the same fabulous person. So now keep a list of all of this on your notepad or on your phone. Nowadays, because you can send messages to yourself on WhatsApp, write, hey, this has worked for me. This has not worked for me. These are the persons I can reach out to when I need help. Star mark these messages and fall back onto them when you are in states of distress.
As a working mother and wanting to still have a purpose-driven life along with taking care of the child, I often get told that I have to take care of the child for some periods. While doing both is tiring, not doing anything outside of childcare also feels more depressing. How should a mother navigate through this?
Thank you so much for the question. And I see that this is coming from understanding and deep empathy. Thank you so much for thinking and feeling and asking the question. Now, one thing I will always say, being prepared is better than not being prepared. The outcome of what will happen after his birth is not in our hands. So you got to have a conversation with your partner way early. I might want to do simple things. I might want to step out for a half. At that point of time, I want you to show up for the baby or help, or somebody comes around to support you. Provide them with the support to take care of the baby, and 1 hour long shower where you just go sit on the commode and you're like, I do not want to function for 20 minutes. Please don't, right? Now, drawing healthy boundaries, even with family, is very important. A lot of us, while growing up, are scared of rejection. We are not assertive. We do not know how to say no. So a lot of this frustration comes from there. And again, Many of these boundaries have also been consistently breached by people, so we draw them. While the fear is real, with the help of a friend or a caretaker or anybody, you mostly have to find other things, at least for the first 6 months, because that is a given time for your companies and all of them are also them. I would say start by some more simpler things on opening your laptop, sitting with the baby, where the child is also aware that, okay, there can be other things. Children are very smart, even if they're just 3 days into being born, they will grasp, right? So sit with the baby for 10 minutes, sit with the baby, slowly keep increasing the timeline and keep, doing that. Now, taking for yourself is equally important. I would say trust your gut. There is no better way to say this. Your body knows what it wants. Stop suppressing your thoughts and feelings and your needs. I'm not talking about wants. Wants are very big. Needs are very basic. Start drawing boundaries to understand I need to do this for myself. I need to show up. You'll be surprised that when you start vocalizing without rebellion, but more coming from a point of making yourself understood, if people don't get it, it's on them. But you don't need to get triggered to ask for support. And if needed, you can always reach out and have a third person who's intervening, a friend, family member, or a close person who can navigate this conversation. Because if you're only going to be with the child, you're going to again have hostile feelings towards the baby. And that is not a place any mother wants to be. So, crocheting, painting, sitting in the sun, getting out for a cup of tea. We are not talking again about walking away because, again, you'll have motherly guilt of not showing up for the child. Step into your balcony, put enough support for the baby, step into your balcony for 15 minutes, keep an eye on the child. And I'm a paranoid dog mother, so I have cameras in my house. My dog is free to roam around everywhere, but I, like a paranoid person, instead of where are you, I will look at the camera and I'm happy. Put a baby monitor, put a child in the crib that is long enough for the baby to not fall off, and then step out into the other room, do your yoga, take your time to relax. So, bigger things, no. Smaller things with scheduled 15 minutes for yourself will work. Babies' timings are unparalleled, so keep what work for you at a reachable distance. You can't have them really far that, oh, it's in the other room, I can't go get it. Something as simple as just having a squishy at your reachable distance. You all carry such big, big bags for the baby, but you don't carry in that bag anything that pertains to you. Carry a protein bar, carry your favorite snack, carry your water that you want to drink. Small but simple things of showing up. Again, keep a note of this, write it somewhere. I don't know how many of you would love this, but please do this. Please, for yourself, doable steps. A blanket statement, Epsom salt, even your rock salt, that putting it in a bucket of water, putting your feet and your hands into it relaxes the body greatly. Even this break is a huge break for you from what you're doing. And now, going back to work, this is a personal choice.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think there's so many testimonials I'm having a tough time going through. There's so many testimonials I'm going through, like finding the questions.
Okay.
Just give me a moment.
Yeah, I think there's one statement that was made on if to PMS that can be prone to PPD. Now, that can be a trigger that can push somebody to having extreme depressive or suicidal thoughts. So that can be a trigger, but it doesn't, or premenstrual symptoms, it's fine. If they don't, ask them what will work and see if you can bridge the gap between the both of them, it is most definitely a trigger. Now, I would like to pause and say this, that a lot of people are going through PMDD, pre-dysphoric disorder. This is, again, PMS on steroids into two. There is irritability, there is lack of sleeplessness, there is body pains, there extreme mood swings that are higher than the PMS. Now, these people are definitely prone to postpartum depression. So you have to keep an eye out for them. Thanks for the question on to give a new mother. Skincare zindabad. Any given day, take loose clothes, take some food for her, very nice cotton blanket and a pillow. These are something that's always, she exactly knows what she wants. Get her that. It could be as a friend of me for, I don't know how many of you know what Poppins is. I had her one big dabba. I said, bro, as you want. Her husband just looked, and then I was like, now you know why you wouldn't hurt for the Poppins. I hunted for the Poppins. There. Always ask. And it's not just for young mothers, for anybody. 30 years. Do not assume you ask. Solves the problem 90%. But yeah, skincare. Hello, please. Massages for people. Foot massages, head massages. Go do massage. Good job. I hope I answered the question.
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. That was a super, super interactive and very interesting. A lot more interactive than, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
If you'd like to say anything to end the session to the viewers.
One would love to, if you would Do not, if you think you deserve kindness and compassion, know that she deserves it 2x. So if you would not tell it to yourself that, yeah, it is normal, do not say it to her. Just take few moments to speak, and that's all. That's literally all. That's the end of it. Just take few moments to speak, because that one word that you say is life changing. It can really make them seen, feel, and heard. So just breathe and don't try to be generalized. Look at the person while talking, and please hug people with their consent. It's so nice. Hug people. But first of all, you should get comfortable with yourself. Hug people with consent and always say, I am here. This is such an affirmative statement. This is something I love how all my girlfriends say that. They're like, bro, whatever happens, I'm here. I'm like, thanks so much. Thanks so much for saying that. So just keep affirming that whatever happens, I'm right here. And whatever you want, I'm right here. You don't need to even do. Just say. I hope that makes sense.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Right.